Welcome to the Be Happy Now show. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. I'm Claudia-Sam. If you know that you're here for a bigger reason, this is the place to be. Together, we ditch the self-care guilt and quit the go with less fear and more trust. Tune in to living life in alignment with your full potential. The Be Happy Now show starts now. Hey, welcome back to the Be Happy Now show. I was just freshly off of the first day of the Back on Track experience. It's a 3-part experience where we get to kind of redefine what it looks like to even be on track for ourselves, nurturing the present moment experience so that it doesn't feel bored, kind of getting out of overwhelm into aligned productivity, and really letting God in, letting the universe, source, speak to our heart. And I really feel, inspired and in alignment to share with you straight from my altar, hair up, with a little bit of heat in my face, what living on track even means. Because it can sound like, especially when we hear, getting back on track. One of the participants of the experience actually shared that with me, that they don't want to get back to where they were before. They want to move forward with a new way of being in alignment, of being on track, and tuning into what that even looks like for them. So I thought I would channel a message from Source to you and let you in on what living on track can even mean. And please know that whenever I channel these messages of inspiration and motivation, they don't come from the ego Claudia-Sam. They come from Source, from the divine, from God, from the universe. And I use my voice to channel whatever flows through me and comes out through words of the English language based on what my human capacities are. And it's important to remember that this isn't like a straight science, and please take what you resonate with and leave out the rest. And feel free to share these messages that you may hear me talk about to anyone whom you feel would feel a sense of belonging and embrace and love and deep compassion whenever you hear something that I channel or that I say, that you think about these people, their names pop into your head. You can trust that they may be meant to receive the episode. So I am so happy for you to share this episode with someone who pops into your head. Now, living on track, I'm going to share specifically for me what my quote unquote morning routine may look like. And I'm going to invite you to really demystify that word, the morning routine, because even routine can be very linear, very strict, very rigid. And in the soul connection coaching practice that I have and in my community, we're moving beyond the strict linear way of life that may be backed up by masculine energy mainly. Not saying we don't use the masculine energy, rather that we lean into the feminine so that we can from there take action into the doing that the masculine energy brings out in our human selves. And you'll hear me talk a lot about the distinction between the human self, in other words, the small s self, or the higher self, the soul self, the capital S self. And when we dance between both, it's a little bit like dancing between the head and the heart, the doing and being, the ego and the soul. My body right now needs a glass of water. What living on track means, to me anyway, from what I'm receiving from Source right now, is that it means all the knots, not linear, not perfection, not quote unquote the right way, no have tos, no shoulds, no need to, no obligations, nothing, nowhere near perfection, or no diets, no playing small, not thinking that you have to always be high vibe. Even when we may hear that, oh, joy and love, it is the high frequency, the high vibration, we want to spend our time there, and we get to, that's who we are. And at the same time, like you may have caught one of the stories I did this recently on social media about how life isn't this medal giving obstacle course with a race to the finish line, that you have to be trained perfectly to go through the hoops and win each challenge and feel like you're the best in everything, because that is exhausting. That would have us get to the finish line of life feeling exhausted and tired, and maybe faster than when we're meant to end this physical life for ourselves and when our finish line is. What if life was this series of obstacle courses that didn't provide you a medal, that you just got to be around the loops, be with the challenges, and flow your way through it, creating your own shortcuts and bringing into your own obstacle course those who can support you and motivate you and build resiliency as you move through the certain obstacles, and getting to the finish line feeling like you're darn proud of yourself and like, wow, you didn't have to race here, and looking back at the fluidity of it. And that to me is what living on track is like. Recently, one of my family friends, Lorraine, left her body, and her passing has drawn me into this whirlwind of, well, deep sorrow, but the ego I found was very stuck in what's the effing point? She was someone who would battle cancer, and I would speak to her on the phone and she would say that life is beautiful. So to me, that is being on track. It's not a defeat to have cancer. On track in that essence to me is like, wow, what do you do with it? How do you show up? How do you be with yourself? How much love are you showering yourself with? How much love are you giving to others? How much compassion are you living with? And how much love are you willing to receive? She was one of these people that is so inspiring just by the way that she was moving through life. And one of the things that is most inspiring for me was the level of love that she was sharing with her partner, which is very similar to the level of love, I think, from outside that I see me having with my partner, and the embrace and the level of being held and feeling like you're seen to the fullest of who you are. That's the level of love that I'm experiencing. I'm so grateful for it. And Lorraine had that too until her last kiss. And when she passed is when she passed. And beyond the ego's questions of what is the effing point, that is one extreme. The ego's questioning and the narrow vision of the ego. And on the other hand, that life is beautiful is maybe the opposite extreme. And living on track is that playing like a pendulum from one side to the other, where the pendulum doesn't stay only in life is beautiful all the time. And it doesn't also stay in the ego's searching for what's wrong. It plays in between. And in the balance, in the swing between one extreme to the other, it just lets go. And that's, to me, part of what being and feeling on track is all about. It doesn't mean you're immune to challenges. It means you can be both patient and impatient. It means you can wake up some days happy and other days start your day not so much. not so aligned with happiness. To me, on track means to recognize when we're either in these extremes or in the experience of the in between, that whenever there's judgment, that we can recognize it and then choose to stay with the judgment or choose again, choose a different perspective. Seeing what feels good to you and what doesn't, and then choosing what feels good, or consciously choosing what doesn't. Like if you're eating popcorn in front of Netflix, which is one of my favorite things to do sometimes, and sometimes it's part of a pity party, and sometimes it's just feeling in such alignment to just lean back and let myself be entertained. Not out of boredom, not out of escape. And even if it was, judging that is bad would not be self-love, would not be feeling on track to me. Again, take what resonates with you and leave out the rest and make your own definition. This is part of what we did in the first day of the Back on Track experience, which you're welcome to still join. It's never too late because we offer you the replays. We have bonus videos for you that you can watch. There's no deadline on watching those videos. And, well, not for now anyway. Maybe I'll change my mind. And you and I get to be in a private Telegram group where you get coached. You can ask questions and I'm just available for you during my New Zealand weekdays, and you get to be supported and go through this journey of identifying what feeling on track looks like for you and how you can nurture that and find the middle ground for yourself that feels really good. And so if that feels and sounds like something in alignment for you, that feels good for you to just play here, it's a free 3-part experience, and I would love for you to join. The link is in the description of the show. And I am also asking some things about you so that I can get to know you, because it's really important for me that we can, in Claudia-Sam Soul Coaching, serve you to the level that we know what you want and who you are, if you're willing to let us in a little bit. So we'll get to know each other. Now, if we recap a little bit, to me, based on what I am also receiving from Source, is that feeling and being on track is loving yourself to the level that you keep yourself up to the standards of your worthiness. And you are born worthy. Therefore, you deserve self-love consistently, whether you go through the hoops of the challenges of life's obstacle course. When you can love yourself through it all, to me, that is what feeling on track is. And in order to live on track, one of the most life-affirming ways to do that is to be in the present moment and nurture yourself on the 5 layers of yourself through present moment awareness, so that you can have that confidence that is your worthiness, that it's part of who you are, that divine intervention of channeling through your body into your intuition, so that you can make choices and decisions that are in alignment with you, so that you can go and make the impact that you're here to make. Because if you're here and listening to this podcast, chances are you know you're here for a bigger reason. And you don't want to end your life in regret. And so knowing what feeling in alignment and on track looks like for you is really important. And the Back on Track experience, it gives you a lot. And we play and practice this in the Soul Connector Circle, which the doors are opening later in a few days. So you will know when that happens. And for now, you can practice this, nurture yourself, and get to know what on track feels like for you. Feeling on track can also be seen from like a mathematical perspective. How much time, percentage-wise, do you spend sulking into what's wrong versus looking at what's right, beyond what the mind thinks may be good enough or not? Because I played with this in my own practice with my own coach recently, and I asked this in one of the in-person soul circles I did here in Nelson, New Zealand, and the question was, what is enough to the human ego, and what is enough to the soul self? And I'd love to hear your answers on that. If you want to respond wherever you find this video or listen to the show, let me know what your answers are. And can feeling on track come from, or rather, I'm going to ask you this differently. Where do you want feeling and living and being on track? Where do you want that to come from? Do you want that to come from your ego human self, or do you want that to come from your soul eternal self? And there's no wrong answer here, okay? Sometimes you can want to feel on track, super physical, human, and that's fine. And ultimately, I think we all know that it's about the soul self and accessing that, which is who you are. And to me, I realized how enough to the human self is impossible. To my human self, there is almost nothing that is enough. And that might change depending on how you were brought up and what your beliefs are and how your work ethic is. Because one of the answers that came through in the soul circle was having a sign, that when you get a sign that it's enough, it's enough. And that can be great. And it can also remind us that as humans, sometimes we want validation and we're looking for this external source of validation, of kind of checkbox marking, or saying, yes, this is your path. And it can come from an external source and be fine. And it can also come from within as this feeling of alignment or this cursor of what on track feels like to you. And I noticed how enough to my soul self was who I am, which, to be frank with you, is kind of debilitating to think that it's, again, two extremes. To my soul self, I am enough, meaning technically I wouldn't have to do anything. I'm just enough. To my human, though, nothing is enough. Okay, so how do you get stuff done? How do you actually move through life feeling like you're on purpose and like you're creating this impact when there's these two extremes of one part of you may think that it's never enough and the other thinks you don't have to do anything, you are already enough. I'm going to take another sip of water. Yeah, this might spark some reflection in you. And again, I'd love to hear your answers. And this is the kind of practice that happens when we become a soul connector. When we play in the present moment, we get to be aware of all of that. And we don't make rash decisions or act fast. We don't act on either of those extremes. We let ourselves, based on where we are, where we enter the awareness wheel, which is what we did on day one of the Back on Track experience, you get to do it your way and find your own inner alignment guidance system and be okay with how the cursor for enoughness may even move across a variety of days on your cycle, for example. You know, there are days in my cycle where, in my menstrual cycle, where like today, I had multiple hours of calls and talks and speaking, and hence why I may drink a bit more than usual while I record the podcast. And that's okay. I'm like halfway almost through my cycle near ovulation, whereas when I'm on days 1, 2, or 3 of my cycle, no way would I do that, because it doesn't feel in alignment. So to me, feeling on track is also about tuning into what that is, because like the obstacle course of life moves through seasons and years, our physical human body moves through cycles as well, has its own rhythm. Let me segue into what my morning routine looks like. And I didn't write any notes for this. I'm just going to tune into what it looks like for me to wake up. And chances are I'm not going to say everything because I might forget things. So there might be follow-up episodes on that. And I'm just going to trust it feels on track for me to still go and share with you what I receive and let what doesn't get said be enough. Be okay, as unsaid for now. Yeah. What I'm going to share is my personal way of starting my day and living on track. And yeah, chances are I'm not going to remember everything. But what I would like for you to hear from this is the energy behind the actions. Because what you'll find is that the most important piece about living on track is that it's not about the action. It's not about journaling the gratitudes or picking angel cards. It's not about the action, spending 3 hours in yoga or meditating for X amount of minutes with this specific series of breathwork practices. It's not about the thing. It's about what you believe behind it. It's about the feeling it gives you. It's about the springboard it offers you so that you can embody your soul embodied, so that as a human, you can actually go into the world and get those results. Make the impact you're here for. Create the ripple effects. Be you. And if we start our day feeling like we have to tick all these boxes because that's what other people told you should do, like there's this misconception, right? That we need to do something for 21 days, otherwise the habit won't stick. What if you just decided that was a new habit, period? So yes, okay, there's science, and if you're like some of my clients, you may hold on to that belief, and it may even prevent you from taking action because already it seems like a really big have to. Okay, back on track. We are on track. So the morning routine for me begins when my alarm rings, and my alarm is a beautiful chorus sound. It's a song. It's called Faith's Hymn. Faith's Hymn, Hymn, by Beautiful Chorus. And so it's a gentle, progressive sound that wakes me up. And in my alarm, I used to use bedtime or sleep on the iPhone, but I now just use the alarm, and I can write a note of what the alarm is for. So I will put an intention, and I will write. Like, to give you an example, this week, because of Lorraine, or thanks to her, I wrote, La vie est belle. Life is beautiful. So I hear that. I take a breath in and a breath out. I'm present to where my body is. I feel the sheets. I feel the weight of my body and the bed. I'm aware that I'm hearing the sound of the song. When I feel like I have gotten in touch with my body and my breath and the moment, then is when I pick up my phone and look at my phone to see the affirmation. Life is beautiful. So that's the first thing I actually read from the day. And then, well, sometimes I snooze or stop the alarm. And then I take a few breaths in bed to really feel the breath in and out through the nose. And often that's when my partner comes and says goodbye for the day. So I get a beautiful hug and a beautiful kiss, and I'm really embraced and held in the moment. It's really important for me in these moments that there's no rush. I will always set my alarm minimum 2 hours before I have to get up. 2 hours before I have to start my day, before I get to start my day. And so I have space, I have time. I take the time. So I can, like right now, I can feel I can create the feeling of what the sheets feel like on my skin, because I know those purple bamboo sheets. Like, I know them. I'm present with them. I know the weight of them on my body. That's the level of presence. And I can also notice in these moments, in these days, when I feel like when I'm woken up by thoughts. Sometimes it's excited thoughts, sometimes it's worry thoughts, and I'm just present to them. And one of the most important choices that I do make in that moment is to not let it take me into my day. It's to not choose it, to see it like, oh, I see you, thought. Oh, thanks for being here. And I'm not going to choose you now. And sometimes I don't know what to choose yet. because it's early, but I focus on the breath. And sometimes I go straight to my meditation app, the one I love to use, Insight Timer. If you didn't know, I have some free meditations on there for you. And so I go on meditation on Insight Timer, and I will choose a meditation. I will often just use the search and I will search what I want to feel. And based on that, whatever meditation pops up that aligns, then I'll just play it. That's if I feel like I need some extra support to start my day the way I want to feel, instead of giving that voice of worry some space. And when I wake up feeling good and kind of, for lack of better words, in control of how I feel, then I make my bed, I go to the bathroom, I brush my teeth, I look at myself in the mirror, I smile, and I greet myself. Hi. And sometimes I see it when I walk by the mirror and I don't look at myself. I walk back and I look at myself and I say hi. I don't want to ignore myself. If I'm the one ignoring myself, well, how do I expect the world to not ignore me? So I want to see myself. I want to be the first person to see myself in the day. So you can do that too. Then after I brush my teeth, I will often have a shower. And then is when I will go into a meditation practice, or I will come to my altar. I will really tune into how I want to feel. And if I feel like I need guidance, I will take my oracle and angel cards and I'll feel into what deck I want to play with. If I feel like I want to calm down, I may choose to put a timer and just meditate with my breath in silence or with background sounds. Or I can choose again how I want to feel and pick a meditation to guide me through that. And then if I feel like I want to shift the energy in my body, or I feel a bit stiff in my body, or I just want to be out in nature, I will either practice some yoga or go for a walk, or go take the car, go to the beach for a walk, or I will sit outside. Lately, what I've loved doing was just going outside, looking at the ocean, because I'm very fortunate and I'm so grateful that I live in paradise and I get to look at the horizon and the palm trees and the lemon trees and the lavender trees and all the beautiful flowers in the garden. So I just walk in the garden and I smell the jasmine and the rose and the rosemary and the mint and the lemon and the grapefruit. I just smell them and I immerse myself in the senses. That brings me fully in the present moment. And only when I feel like I know exactly what my energy intention is for the day. And there's this new thing on Insight Timer. Now, my phone is not here to show you, but there is this new function on the Insight Timer app where you can set an intention. You can write the intention and you can put it as a widget on your phone. And I have just loved that, because it's been, every time I open my phone, I see my intention for the day that I set from a place of alignment from the moment I woke up. And then only once I feel that, I feel like my intention is clear for the day, I know that my actions will come from that place of my intention. And P.S., if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do any of all these things, how to choose all of that, don't worry. We talk about it in the Back on Track experience. And that's really what we are helping you to nurture and develop. Part of what we're helping you nurture and develop in the Soul Connector Circle, which the doors will open in a few weeks, not right now. So once I feel in alignment with the intention, then is the time where I go, sometimes I make a coffee or a herbal tea, or actually I do love to start with a glass of water. That is, I like to bring in that after I've washed my teeth. That comes from like the Ayurveda practices. I do scrape my tongue as well. I've done that for years. Before I ingest something in my body, I make sure to clean my mouth. And so I do like to start with a glass of water. It feels very compassionate and loving towards my body. Some people do it with lemon water. And again, I'm not going to make it strict for myself to make sure I have lemon water every day because it feels good and it's also a treat when I do have it. So you see how it sets the tone, and then I'll make breakfast and I'll tune in before I make breakfast. I'll tune into like, what's the texture I want to have in my mouth and how nourished do I want to feel? I consistently ask myself questions throughout the day, and I'll leave it at this for now. And you can see how it's very fluid. There's not one right way. There's not one linear thing that I do every morning apart from, breathing in bed and cleaning my teeth and going to the bathroom, because those are kind of human body necessities. But it's not always high vibe. I will choose the meditation based on how I feel. And the most important for me is the navigation of the thoughts so that the thoughts and the emotions don't rule my day. So I will use the awareness wheel, like what I'm teaching you in the Back on Track Experience Day 1, to recognize like, okay, are the thoughts more present today? Are the emotions more present today? Is my body speaking to me more today? Maybe it's none of those. Maybe it's intuitive. Maybe it's just more neutral. And that's kind of what life is all about, like being with all of it, whatever shows up for you, and not judging it as bad or wrong or better or good if it's one way or the other. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm grateful that I get to share it with you, and I hope I have the pleasure of meeting you in our Back on Track experience. And again, please feel free to share how you feel, what comes to you from the questions I've asked you about what is enough to your human self and what is enough to your soul self. And if you have any questions, of course, reach out to me. I'm pretty active on Facebook Messenger, so you can write to me there. And again, the link for the Back on Track experience is in the description of this episode. Thank you so much to my team who produces the show and has been so great in helping me behind the scenes in organizing our 3-part live event for you. I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful for you to be here, listen, and again, share the episode with anyone whom you think might want to hear this. If it feels in alignment with you, you can invite them, ask them if it may feel in alignment with them. Thank you so much. I'll see you soon.
You've been listening to the Be Happy Now show with me, Claudia-Sam. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. You are worthy of being you, and of connecting to what stops you from living the life you are meant to live. Access more soul connection coaching at coachclaudiasamcoaching.com.